everyone, Susan from the Sewing Escape. I wanted to share and update a little video while I've got a project in progress. I have been working on my Spool of Love quilt kit. In case you don't know what that one is, this one is from Tula Pink. It was with her homemade line. So I've got a lot of this built, and I thought it was just an important time to stop and kind of tell you what I do. I've taken this, I made all my rows. Before I put my spools together, of course I squared them all so they would be the same size. Life still happens, things are not perfect. And so before I go ahead and add the sashing for the rows, I want to make sure that they're about the same size. The directions tell you to make a lot of your sashing. I had to cut many strips, and then I had to sew them together end to end. And what I did for that, you know what? Again, it's time for glasses. I try to do it without, but so this is, you know, you want to sew it together end to end. If I can ever find the end, I'll show you where it is. Remember, it's with the fabric, so it's, oh, there it is. It's about 40 inches long. So I did this with the 45, and I used my wonderful folded corner clipper ruler to do that. And I made all the sashing they said. You want one long piece, and you want to cut off from there, because then that way your join is going to end up in different places. So before I cut this into the number that is in the pattern, I want to do something really important. I want to check how long did my rows come out, because I want to make sure that what I cut to is going to be similar. If my rows may not be exact, but I need to find out where they're at. So what I'm going to do is put these to the back. I don't need those, but I do have some scratch paper. And so for me, when I made these, I marked it. I have row A1, A2, A3, and then we went all the way down. We have 6 rows, I believe. Yep, there's A6. So I just need a scribble pad, that's all, just so that I can go ahead and record these. I'm gonna push it up out of my way. I'm gonna take one down. Oh, I wanna get rid of my pen. No pokies. I don't like pokies in my fingers or anywhere else. I'm only going to do kind of a rough measurement right now, because I want to see if I'm in the ballpark. If I'm way far off, then I'm going to go ahead and do more measurements. But for this one, for the rows, I just want to measure from one end to the other, right down the center. I know it is so super tempting for you to take this sashing that you made and go ahead and lay it on, sew it down, and cut at the end. But the problem with that is every single time you do that, so if I do this and go all the way down and I sew it, and then all I do is clip off the extra, I'm gonna have all my pieces will be different sizes, and then my quilt will not end up square. So this is why like I said, I'm gonna take just a few minutes to double check this. So for now, and I'm not gonna like tug on this and make sure to stretch it, because you don't wanna do that either. But I'm just gonna take my long tape measure, and I like to use that quilter's tape measure because it's 120 inches. And I'm just gonna do, you know, a rough number. I'm gonna lay it gently on top. I'm gonna go all the way down. And I'm gonna write a nice number though. I'm gonna actually look at the eighths, 1, 2, 3, 4/8, which is a half, whatever. I'm gonna count those, because that'll help me get my average. So this one ends in 5/8. So I'm gonna write it down. I don't wanna tell you the number because it's part of the pattern, but that's one of them. So I go through, let me try my second one, and we'll see if I come out the same size or not. It helps if you have a long table when you're doing long pieces like this, because that's another problem, is sometimes people don't measure in a place that's quite flat, and so it's hard for them to get like a good picture on what's going on. Oh, well, look at my sewing. This one is off. It's 3/8, not 5/8. So I'm off a 1/4 of an inch there. All right, so I would have to make an adjustment because I want to ease these into each other. So let me see where I ended up with the third one. Like I said, well, I mean, maybe others are perfect when they sew, but I try hard. I do my best. I think I've done a lot of things right, and then still there are adjustments that need to be made. Oh, and here's another number. This one ends in a half. So far I've got 3/8, a half, and 5/8. So you can see just the first 3 strips are not equal in size. I'm not worried about that because those numbers are still really close together. But like I said, I'm gonna have to make an adjustment with the sashings that I cut for the rows. Because when I cut my sashing, all those sashings have to be cut at the same exact number. Again, don't just put your sashing on, sew it on, and cut to fit. You have to do it the other way around. Oh, this one ends in a half. So far I have 2 that match. That's a good thing. So let's see if I can get more that match. Take it down. I'm almost done with the magic of video. Maybe we can splice a few things together. We're learning. Again, I'm not stretching my rows. I don't want to do that. Here we go. This one ended in a half. So I'm feeling pretty good because I only have 2 of the rows are one slightly larger, one slightly smaller. So that's a good thing. Okay, let's see where the last one ends. Okay, I ended at a half. So, not so bad. I have 4 out of 5 strips that end in a half. 1 ended in 3/8, 1 ended in 5/8. I don't think I'm gonna need to worry about that, but I'm now gonna go ahead and cut my strips at that number, X number plus ½ inch. I can't tell you the number. I don't want to give away everything in here. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get a cutting board and get set up for cutting the sash. All right, so now I know exactly how long to make my sashing for the rows. As I mentioned earlier, I had sewn all of my sashing together. I did my joins. I like to roll it onto something. We happen to have a local craftsman who makes these wonderful binding or sashing holders. You can wrap this way, you can wrap this way. But I knew it was going to be a long time before I could come back to this part of the quilt. So I wanted to store what I had made and keep it nice and neat. So now that I know what length I need to cut these to, I'm going to be cutting 7 all at the same length. Again, if you have space on a long table, that's great. I'm going to lay mine out. I set up my cutting mat and I have my rotary, a small ruler. Always make sure your rotary is closed because things do happen and people get hurt. So I'm going to take my long tape measure, stick it on the end down the center. I'm going to come along until I find that number that I'm looking for. I'm going to slip my ruler underneath where it needs to be, and I'm going to line it up exactly. So I'm going to match it on the tape measure, and I'm going to also then get rid of that because I don't want to cut through it. I'm also using the bottom of a horizontal line to the edge of my fabric so I know that it's going to be straight. Open, cut, close, and there's one. So my join, again, these are, you know, about with the fabric, so about 40 inches, and I have a join. We'll see where the next one is. It's good to make a long end-to-end one, because again, you don't want those seams to all be in the same place in every single row. So I'll just go ahead and unwind, and I'm gonna cut 7 of these. All right, so I've been working on cutting the sashing for the rows. And like I said, you're cutting from one long piece that you joined. I joined several to make this really big bundle. I'm getting down to the bottom. And again, you do that to move these joins to different places. So I've started down here, I pass one join, I come to the second join. This is great news though. My cutoff, I don't know if you can see that, my cutoff is here, and it's right in front of this join. So when I'm going to go ahead and cut this one, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do, because I know that I have a little bit of extra in there and a little bit of wiggle room. I'm just going to move this to the number I needed, throw away the tape measure, make my cut, close my blade. All right, so this next one would have a join right near the edge, and I don't really want it right on the edge. So what I'm going to do is, before I cut my next one, and I know because I have a little bit of extra in here, I'm going to just cut that part off so I get a clean, fresh start. I would rather have this at the beginning of my row than a seam at the beginning of my row. I'm going to go finish my cutting.